What is up guys, it's Solheim here, back with another Wrath of the Lich King Classic video. So today we are talking about a really interesting topic, and I want this video to be a discussion, or a form of discussion. I will probably be the one doing most of the talking, but I sincerely want you to leave your opinions in the comment section down below. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about fresh servers for Classic WoW, and more specifically, I am going to go at it from the angle of whether or not we need fresh servers for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. I will go through the upsides and downsides of fresh servers, and ultimately give my opinions on what I think Blizzard should do here. I think we can all imagine what will happen, but based on Classic WoW Season of Mastery and its development lately, we also know that Blizzard is actually listening to feedback and actively watching over their community, so once again make sure you are vocal about whether or not you want fresh Classic servers for Wrath Classic or not, both in the comment section of this video but also on any other video on the topic and Reddit or WoW forum posts about the topic. I will also be doing a YouTube poll about this topic, so we can figure out more about the exact percentages between how many people want fresh servers versus how many people do not want fresh servers. Okay, let's get into it. First off, I want to say that when I talk about the topic of fresh servers for Wrath of the Lich King Classic, I am not saying that we should nuke the current servers. I am talking about the addition of fresh servers, so those of us who actually want fresh servers have the option to play on fresh servers. That is a lot of fresh servers in this video, and players who want to keep playing on progression servers will have the option to do that as well. So let's look at some of the positives of having fresh servers for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. The first positive that I want to look at, which is actually a positive effect both for people playing on fresh servers and for people playing on the current progression servers, is the server queue. For example, let's look at Firemaw. Right now there's a 2000 plus queue on Firemaw, and that queue can be up to 2 hours on raid days. At the launch of Wrath of the Lich King, even if they add multiple layers, I can tell you right now there will be a huge queue on those huge servers, such as Firemaw, Benediction, Fairlina, Gehennas, and so on. There will be massive queues, especially for the first couple of weeks, when everyone wants to try out Wrath of the Lich King. Introducing fresh servers will first of all take some players away from those huge servers, as there is 100% some people on those servers who want fresh servers, which will by itself create a smaller queue on those servers. Next up, people who try to log in to, for example, Firemaw, and are met with a huge queue might be enticed to play on a different server instead, and sure, even though they probably have hundreds of servers to choose from, but if you start playing on, for example, Gehennas, you are already way behind everyone else, even if you buy a level 58 boost. That being said though, if you do have the option of starting on a fresh server, you know that you are not far behind everyone else, and you can basically start enjoying playing without having that server queue. The second positive effect of fresh servers is a very alt-friendly experience. Leveling an alt right now in the Burning Crusade, or let's call it Classic WoW on the progression servers, is a horrible experience. You will barely see a single person in the open world while leveling, and it's next to impossible to find dungeon groups while leveling up outside of buying boosts. On fresh servers, every single one is starting at level 1, and you will instantly have the feeling of a huge open world where the server is alive, and you will see lots of people in the starter zones, and while leveling up, creating a thriving community. You will also be able to experience a leveling experience without anyone trying to sell boosts, because it's a fresh server, and boosting won't be a thing for several weeks at the earliest, and in my opinion, that in itself is a huge win. Reason number 3 for fresh servers, and this is probably the biggest reason in my opinion, and that is the life duration of Wrath of the Lich King. I am not exactly sure if that's the right word for it, but basically, if you start playing on a fresh server, there's basically just more content for you to actually do, and it will take more time before you finish everything, to the point where you get burnt out or bored of the content. Let's look at TBC Classic as an example here. You started TBC Classic at level 60, a lot of people had full Naxxramas gear, which by itself carried them to level 70, and you didn't even have to replace all of your Naxxramas gear before you started doing TBC raids. The raids were cleared incredibly early, and most guilds had Karazhan on farm within week 1 after starting it, with the slight exception of Nightbane. Wrath of the Lich King Classic will be no different, and if anything it will be even worse and people will get bored even quicker. For one, there's no lengthy attunements in Wrath, so you can instantly enter heroic dungeons and farm out some pre-raid gear, but most hardcore players and hardcore guilds probably will not even bother to do heroic dungeons. They will just go straight into the raids, because the first tier of Wrath is incredibly easy. Like, think about easy, then multiply that by 10, and that is how easy it is. It is the easiest easy there has ever been easy. For example, back in OG Wrath of the Lich King, which was before this was ever theory crafted into oblivion, the first tier of Wrath of the Lich King was cleared 3 days after launch. Literally, 3 days after the launch of the expansion, the content was cleared, and that is not 3 days of raiding, that is including the entire guild leveling up to level 80, and getting pre-raid geared, and once they entered Noxramas, they cleared everything in that first day. We also have some stats from servers such as Warmain, where bosses have been buffed and getting buffed HP, meaning they should be harder to kill, and even there, the world first for Noxramas was claimed within 1 hour of Noxramas being opened. So now that people have been practicing on private servers, as well as theory crafted the fun out of raids, the first tier of Wrath of the Lich King Classic will be cleared by most guilds within week 1, and will be the easiest content in the world to farm, easier than Karazhan, and if we look at what happened to TBC Classic, that will cause a burnout in Wrath Classic. Basically, you can also most likely just enter the raids instantly at level 80, there's not a lot of pre-raid grinding you need to do, and in my opinion having the option of fresh servers is a must in order to avoid that content drought. Reason number 4 for fresh servers is a fresh economy. By this point, mage boosters and paladin boosters have hoarded literally hundreds of thousands of gold, artificially increasing the price of valuable items in the game to the point where new players feel like they have to buy gold just to be able to afford what they need. Whether this is consumables for raiding, materials for their professions, crafted gear, or anything else, the more gold is currently in circulation, the more expensive things are going to be because of inflation, and when you start playing the game, the gold you get from quests don't increase with the inflation, like the price of materials does, so being a new player in an inflated economy feels absolutely terrible, and with gold buying already being a problem in TBC Classic, I don't see why we should keep enticing people to purchase gold, especially when it can get them banned. Fresh servers is definitely not the perfect fix against the gold buying, it only resets the cycle so it can repeat itself, but it is a temporary solution, and it is a nice side benefit of fresh servers. So with that being said, what are the negative effects of fresh servers? Personally, I can only really think of 2 negative effects, but they are pretty huge. Number 1 is that people lose all of their current progress. This one is huge, as MMORPGs in general is all about progressing your character, and the second you lose that progression element, you lose a vital part of the game. This is progress such as gold that you have hoarded over time, your gear, your mounts, or anything else really. That being said though, this thus also ties into one of the reasons for fresh servers, which was the content drought and avoiding it, and the more things you have right now that helps you in Wrath, the faster you will get bored of the content. People love preparing for future expansions, I do the same myself, but I will admit that it will also does make me bored of the expansion way quicker when it actually does come out, and statistically, I also know that a lot of people do get burnt out quicker. That being said though, this is also why I say that fresh servers should only come as an addition to the current servers, so people who desperately want to keep their progress can do that, and people who desperately want to play on fresh servers can do that as well. It is the best of both worlds. This brings me to my second point. Having progression servers and fresh servers could create a player divide. What I mean it literally creates a new type of server, and this could split guilds and friend groups up, as some people might want to stay on progression servers, while some other people might want to go on the fresh servers. So, do we need fresh servers? Not really. Are they welcome? Absolutely. To avoid content drought and provide a better new player experience, they are almost essential, and personally, I think there are far too many positives surrounding them, and the positives by far outweigh the negatives. That being said though, since Blizzard would not be able to sell level 58 or level 68 boosts on these fresh servers, or at least they should not do that, that also means that they are losing money, and that is probably why they will not do that. So either way, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed my rambling, please give the video a like, and if you didn't like it, then please give it a like anyway. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel for future Wrath content, and that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.